So today I'm going to talk about how to create a winning culture inside your real estate wholesale team. And I got to tell you, today's episode is critical. But before I jump into today's show, if you have not been over to nextlevelwholesaling.com, I've got a free gift there for you. And I'm telling you, it is awesome. It's going to rate you in basically, it's an assessment, and it's going to rate you in the four major areas of your wholesaling business. And my mentor actually helped to create this for me, and I take it once a quarter. And it just really, really opens my eyes because it challenges me to always build a business that is, number one, more profitable, number two, operates without me, and number three, has an amazing level of consistency. Again, all without my day-to-day involvement. So if you want to take your wholesaling business to the next level, go to nextlevelwholesaling.com, download the assessment, and let me know what your score is. Hit me up on @Todd Toback, and I'd love to hear where you think that next step is. All right, so let's talk about how to cultivate a winning culture. In my opinion, one of the most important things that you can do as a business owner is understand that teamwork makes the dream work. One of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, has always harped on this. Anything amazing always requires other people and teamwork and collaboration. And if you are living in a silo, sure, you could make some money, but I got to tell you, business, life, making money is all more fun and a lot easier working with the people. And so how to create, or how do you cultivate a winning culture in your organization? Well, I got to tell you, it does not happen by accident. My number one rule is that you must be intentional. You have to understand that you have to decide not to be average. Your company has to decide that you're going to be better, that people are going to be attracted to you and want to work with you because of the culture that you create. And by the way, it could be a culture of two people, right? You and even a virtual assistant. So I don't care if you're like, Todd, I'm just getting started. You need to start creating this culture today, even if you're talking to yourself in the mirror. So number one is that you've got to be intentional about it, understand what you are trying to create, right? A winning culture is someone who demands, right? A business owner or a business who demands people get the best out of themselves. And I don't know if you know anything about me, but I've been a New York Jets fan for pretty much my entire life. And I'm in my mid 40s right now. And I got to tell you, it seems like the New York Jets have a horrible culture. And when Tom Brady was on the Patriots, man, oh man, it seemed like the Patriots had a winning culture, right? They won, what, 6 Super Bowls together? And then Tom Brady goes to the Tampa Bay Bucks and wins a 7th. I mean, this guy knew how to create a winning culture. And so I'm going to talk about some of the things that I learned watching Tom Brady, unfortunately, but some of the things I've also learned in business. All right. So number one, let people know exactly what you expect from them. People aren't mind readers. They don't have a gut feel. And I find that many business owners, they, talk a big game, but they don't communicate clearly with the people around them. And so when you hire somebody on, let them know exactly what you expect from them. If you're talking about a salesperson, let them know and say, hey, I expect you to generate $70,000, $80,000 a month. I expect you to come in here and make at least 60 calls a day. You should be going on, 6 appointments a week. I expect you to have a clean database and be able to report back to me, on the regular. I expect you to be on the sales meetings and train not only yourself, but also uplift other people and look at people on your team as more teammates than competition, right? So let them know, lay that out clearly. If you expect people to dress a certain way, this is up to you. Let them know, but don't keep it loosey-goosey, right? Understand that you demand more. Number two is train the heck out of your team consistently. Nothing will show your team that you care more than training them. I think a lot of people, they hire somebody and they just throw them into the water and they're like, hey, sink or swim. So for me, I'm partial to sales. And so you want to obviously give your people a copy of the No Limit Selling System. If you haven't purchased it, it is ridiculously cheap. You can go to No Limits salessystem.com/backdoor if you want it. But you need to role play with your teammates. You need to listen to call recordings. You need to go through people's database every single week. And when they say you care, when they see that you care, they're going to care, right? If you don't care, they're not going to care. And so pour into them. Number 3, and this goes along with number 2, provide structure. I don't know about you, but I thrive in structure. The problem is if you are the business owner listening to this podcast, it's up to you to provide it. Every Monday morning, we have a meeting at 10:30 a.m. It lasts an hour and a half. It starts on time and it ends on time. I learned this from the books in Traction. We have an agenda for that meeting, and we follow the same meeting every single week. I've been doing this for the last 5 years, and it has been a giant, giant benefit. On Wednesday, we have our sales meetings at 11. On Friday, we have our sales meetings at 11. And that structure, they aren't very long on Wednesdays and Fridays, right? It's 15 minutes each. We're in and we're out. But the team knows exactly what to expect. They're winners. They practice. They know when they're supposed to practice. And I tell them what I expect from them. Number 4, challenge your team. I talk a lot about core values, but people will complain. They'll bring problems. They will, oftentimes revert back to a version of themselves that maybe you don't like. And so I am going to challenge you to challenge your people. If someone is consistently closing $30,000 or $40,000 a month, challenge them to close 70 or 80. They're like, well, the leads suck. And I'm going to say, is that true? Do they all suck? Give me 5 things that you can do better. I know that you could think of 5 things that are within your control right now that can get you to $70,000 to $80,000 besides blaming me. And challenge them. I know you could do better. Right? How can I help? I believe that you could do more with the resources that you already have, right? Show me. And I'll challenge them to do that. If people know that you think more of them than they think of themselves, they're going to try to live up to the hype. So do it. Number 5, whenever people come to you with a problem, always challenge them and ask them for 3 solutions. And this one's one of my favorites because when you start, people will come to you with all kinds of problems and you say, okay, great. Give me 3 solutions to that before we chat. And like at first, people will come up with the solutions and they'll talk to you and, brainstorm with you and you'll say, hey, great job. And then before you know it, people will just stop complaining, period, and bringing you problems. Unless, they really, really want your help, which is, by the way, if people come to me and ask me for questions, I love that, right? I love to be able to help. Number 6, this one's a doozy. It's a little bit of more work up front, but it's going to save you hours and hours and hours on the back end. 6, always be hiring, or at the very least, always be interviewing, right? You need every single person on your team to compete. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have a really good administrative assistant, one day that person is going to move on. Maybe you're going to die and the business dies and she moves on. Maybe she takes another job. Maybe she doesn't like you anymore, right? Maybe she stays forever. But you need to be prepared that people who have on your team will leave. You also need to be prepared that the people on your team may not be on the level of the rest of your team. And that's okay too. Right? That's really, 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 really important. But when you do that, you create a culture of, hey, I'm not going to sit here and stay at the mercy of mediocrity, right? You want to do this for sales. You want to do this for administration. You're not like threatening people and ruling with this iron fist, but you're saying, hey, the company is the most important here. Like, I love you and I'd love for you to stay, right? But I need to always be prepared that you might not be here one day, right? That does not mean that I'm going to fire people at will, right? But you always need to be prepared that you're going to lose somebody, right? Of course, there's some discretion here, right? But always be hiring. If you look in the National Football League, they're always doing that. They're always bringing in the next person because eventually they know that the person that they have on the field is not going to be there. In addition, you don't want to get people to get complacent. You don't want them to feel like they quote unquote do everything and the business can't operate without them, right? That really, really, really nips complacency in the bud. Number 7, always do what you say. So you want to have it doesn't mean that you always have to say yes. If you cannot get something done, you can't keep your word, don't make a promise that you can't keep. Simple as that. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So if you say that you're going to give someone a bonus based on this metric, give it to them. If you say that you're going to be present for meetings, be present for meetings. If you tell someone that you're going to, if this, then that, do it. These small little micro promises will build a lot of credibility with your team. So have a reputation for always doing what you say. Let me give you an example of a time that I really, really won over my team. I created a bonus structure for my team. And I remember this was like, maybe 7 years ago. And I said, hey, if you guys hit this number, I said, I am going to give Brian was his name. I'm going to move him into a new tier. It's going to be basically a bonus. And he had this last $10,000 deal. It was the last day of the month. And if this deal closed, he would have gotten the bonus. Now, the crazy thing is that the deal was only $10,000. And ironically, the bonus was over $10,000. So by actually us closing the deal, I would be losing money. But Brian, my acquisition specialist, he would be making more, but I promised it. So it would actually be better if I didn't close the deal. Well, I saw this as an opportunity to really, really have leadership here. And I could have just said, hey, I'll pay you the bonus anyway, or a portion of that. But long story short, to get this deal over to the finish line was like completely brutal. I could have delegated this to my team and it would have passed the deadline and Brian wouldn't have gotten the bonus. But I went into escrow. I remember I was there for 3.5 hours and I was filling out paperwork and we had to get funding. And long story short, it was just a real pain in the butt. But everybody saw this. I closed the deal. I actually made less than I would have if I hadn't closed the deal because now I paid the bonus to our acquisition specialist. But everybody saw that and I built a lot of trust. Long story short, I still get to work with Brian and I've made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of this relationship because I've always done what I've said. Okay. Next is understand people want a high standard. Well, I'll take that back. The people who you want in your organization want a high standard. So give it to them. If you set a low standard, it's going to kill morale, right? So you want to set a high standard. If you have people in your organization who are not making the cut, you got to move on. You absolutely need to move on. So set the high standard and then keep the standard. Hold the line. Because the best people, the people who like the high standard and will perform under the high standard, cannot stand when you bring in someone on a low standard or someone who is mediocre and then performing below the standard, and now you are tolerating that. I'm telling you right now, that is a culture killer. All right, I'm a review. Number 1, let people know exactly what you expect of them. Number 2, train the heck out of them consistently. Number 3, provide structure. 4, challenge your people. 5, whenever people come to you with problems, ask them for 3 solutions. 6, always be hiring or interviewing. Okay, people always need to compete. 7, always do what you say you're going to do. And 8, the kind of people who you want in your organization want a high standard. Give it to them. If somebody else is not meeting the standard, move on. Have the guts to create excellence inside your organization. Because at the end of the day, all this means that you are going to have a better business that is a ton more profitable, that's going to give you a lot of freedom, and that's going to spit off cash month after month after month after month without your personal day-to-day involvement. Remember to head on over to nextlevelwholesaling.com, take the assessment, and hey, let me know your score. I'd love to hear from you. Hit me up on social media at Todd Toback, and I will talk to you on the next episode.